string choirs. Oh.
Hello, 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 Lashana Tova. Couple minutes, hold on. Take back the hello. Okay, the rabbi said now. Okay, here I am. Yeah, now. Lashana Tova, Happy New Year. Rabbi,
What year is it?
What year?
What year?
5785.
Oh my gosh, that is exactly correct.
Is it?
Yes.
Hey, clap for me. First time ever. First time ever. Okay, everybody knows the routine. You exit, and where is Marty? Marty, which way do we go? That way, Marty says. Okay, exit, turn right when you exit, please, please. And please, everybody shut off your cell phones. Thank you, and Happy New Year. Oh, and can Elaine come to the podium, please? Our president. Let's have a hand for Elaine Fieldman. Dun, 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 dun.
Go Tigers. And Lions, too. I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I will say a few words. First, welcome everybody. Happy New Year, Lashana Tova. And I do have a few words. I've been doing a fair amount of traveling for the month of September, and I just want to say it's amazing. It's amazing when you meet different people and you just have a chance to take things in. Years ago, not that many years ago, I was in a yoga book club, and I didn't love all the books, but most of them had a little kernel of something worthwhile. And I remember this one book of essays. And one of the essays talked about kin. And if you look up kin in the dictionary, it will say family. But this particular essay said, kin is who you bring into your family, not just your blood family. And this was so true in my travel this past month, because I met people. I was in a group, John and I were in a group of 17 people, and at least for that week, we were a family. We really got to know each other and shared things. And then we left that group and we went and had a cooking class, and we were with this young man from Berlin, a civil engineer, whose father was Saudi Arabian, and he's a practicing Muslim, and we really connected with him. And he said to me, my father told me if I ever couldn't find a mosque, the next best place to pray is a synagogue, because that is the closest the closest religion to ours is the Jewish religion. So another kind of connection, another kind of family. And we talked for quite a while during our cooking and during our dinner. And toward the end of it, we kind of educated each other about a number of things. And toward the end of it, he said, I really believe in a Jewish state. Other groups, other religions, other people have their homeland. The Jews should too. So here was a Muslim young man who was saying to me that the Jews, he's a Zionist, that the Jews should have a state. I was blown away. And so I just want to point out a couple of things. We have a chance to expand our family. We have our family at a retreat that we are going to have in May. So we can all get together as a family at the beginning of May. Keep your eyes and ears open for our family get-together, our family reunion. We're going to Cincinnati. We're going to have a family weekend. So all our kin can get together. Please mark it down for the first weekend in May. And the other thing I want to point out, the other big thing is, let's make tributes to our family. I think at the annual meeting, which we didn't live stream, so many of you probably weren't here, I made it a point of saying, let's recognize those we care about, those we honor, with tributes to the temple. It's a good idea. It helps the temple because we need that. We don't pay for everything with our dues. And instead of, I think I gave the example of bringing a bottle of wine to dinner, make a tribute for your host. So this year, last year we had a match of $30,000 for our security system. And this year we have a $50,000 match for all tributes that are made through the end of the year. So anytime you make a tribute to someone, it will be doubled through the end of the year. And you can bank your tribute. So in other words, you can make a donation, let's say of $500, and you can say, I am making a $500 tribute, but I'm going to tell you later what my tributes are for. And you draw from your tribute bank account through till the end of the year, and you say, well, I'm going to give $50 to this one in tribute, and and $75 to that one in tribute, so you can create a tribute bank account.
And it's doubled, right?
And it's doubled every time, it's doubled up to $50,000. So think of all those tributes you can make. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, I'm doing the match. So every time I make a tribute, I'm doubling my tribute that I'm making. It's kind of bizarre. But anyhow, Happy New Year. Make your tributes. Go Tigers.
Well, it's not generally been our custom to cover our heads here at the congregation, but I'm all set. Some of you may know I am actually a season ticket holder. Indeed. Not every game. All right, I'm taking this off because it is a little warm. Put that right there. 8 games below 500 in July. Is that amazing? There is a God. At least a baseball God. In any case, I'd like to mention our readers, our participants tonight. Elaine will be participating and has been. Bobby Slade, Diana Lieberman, Helen Shanker, Marty Bernstein, Lonnie Fleischer, Jerry Lieberman, and Audrey Pleasant. We are joined by our incredible musicians tonight, led by our dear and wonderful director of music here, Joseph Palazzolo, my friend and colleague. And later on, I'm sure he'll introduce us to the folks that are providing us also with this beautiful music. We're going to begin. You have a beautiful new copy of the book, so please be sure to return it so we can use it next year when you're done with it tonight. And we'll begin here on page 1 with some reflections. We gather tonight to reflect on the year that has passed. It's been a difficult one. We gather to consider our responsibilities to ourselves and to society, to renew ourselves and our community. Our presence here tonight affirms our connection to Jewish heritage, whether acquired by birth, choice, or association. We gather to share with family, friends, and community the significance of this day, the first day of the Hebrew month Tishrei, the beginning of the New Year festival season.
Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manaim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma
With the setting of this evening's sun, united with Jews of every place and time, we proclaim a new year of hope. May these holiday lights inspire us to reflect upon the light in our lives and the warmth we find in the company of loved ones and community, as we invite members of our executive committee to please come to the candles and to light them. Kathy and Elaine, thank you so much for your work and your service and for honoring us with this light.
Stars are hidden and the moon is dark tonight. In the wide expanse of heaven, north to south, not a ray of light. Light a bright candle in my heart's shadowed tent, and through the wide expanse of sky, the light will shine. Where there is sadness, let us offer love. Where there is fear, let us reach for hope. On this eve of the new year, may we bring light to one another.
Let us light these lights and see our way to joy, and let us say Simcha. Let us light these lights and see our way to joy, and let us say Simcha. Let us light these lights and see our way to love, and let us say Ahava. Let us light these lights and see our way to love, and let us say Ahava. Let us light these lights and see our way to peace, and let us say Shalom. Let us light these lights and see our way to peace, and let us say Shalom.
Shana Tova. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more toward the south.
The animals are beginning to turn to
For leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so simply. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing faith. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means admitting that we have have the ability to change. And this is a difficult thing to do. These things are terribly hard to do. But unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. Let us return from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Let us turn around. Let us face ourselves. For in isolation, there is no life. But in community and companionship, there is love and joy and forgiveness.
On Rosh Hashanah, we sit in judgment of ourselves. Before the tribunal of reason and honesty, the roster of our deeds stands exposed. The reality of our daily lives meets the sharp scrutiny of our ideals. We want to be so much more than we are. We want to be wiser, kinder, and more confident in the act of living. We want to seize the world energetically and turn it to some urgent purpose. The valleys of dullness in which we wander threaten the meaningfulness of our lives, and we ache to ascend the peaks of excitement. Time passes far too quickly, and the boredom of routine is the terrifying symptom of wasted opportunity. We half live and fear the future. Each of us is capable of an unimaginable greatness. Each of us is a treasure house of vital potential. Yet we allow hesitation and anxiety to inhibit the expression of our being. Past failure and present fear restrict the range of our feeling and thinking. While this day of meditation awakens us to the truth of who we are, it must also quicken within us the reality of what we can be.
Thing to do is to love one another.
ובחודש השביעי, באחד לחודש, מקרא קודש יהיה לכם, כל מלאכת עבודה לא תעשו, יום תרועה יהיה לכם. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, there shall be an assembly, a cessation from work, a day of sounding the shofar.
תקעו החודש שופר, יגל יום חגנו, יום תרועה יהיה לכם.
For untold generations, at this time, our ancestors listened to the sound of the shofar. What did they hear in its piercing tones? What solemn truths did they detect in its calls, which stirred them so profoundly each year? And what does the shofar say to us today as we stand at the dawn of the new year, groping for wisdom and beliefs to sustain us? Tekiah, awake. Let not habit dull your minds, nor comfort harden your hearts.
Examine your deeds. Look well into your lives. Mend your ways.
As we hear the sharp tekiah blast, let us rouse ourselves from smugness and self-satisfaction, from callousness and self-righteousness. Shevarim, the broken refrain, listen to the staccato cry.
Hear the echoes of sighing and weeping.
The deprived and the distressed, the neglected and the enslaved, the bruised and the broken, all cry out for relief from their pain, for release from their torment. As we hear the anguished wail of Shevarim, let us open our ears to the cries of the afflicted and the oppressed, and let our hearts respond with compassion and love. Truah, the call to battle is sounded.
Join the struggle against evil and suffering.
Give your bread to those who hunger. Give your strength to those who stumble. Give your time to the lonely and forsaken. Heal the wounded. Comfort the bereaved. Let us hearken to the Truah, call to action. For in our hearts, for in our hands, in our hearts, and in our minds are the means for building a better world, for fulfilling the promise of peace and justice, and for hastening a day when these shall prevail throughout the world.
I invite now Felicia Goldberg to the bema to sound the shofar for us. Tekiah. Shevarim. Truah. Tekiah Gedolah. Shkach.
תקעו בשופר, השתיתו אמת, השביעו בינה.
The moon is dark tonight, a new moon for a new year. It is hollow and hungers to be full. It is the black zero of beginning. Now you must void yourself of injuries, insults, incursions. Go with empty hands to those you have hurt and make amends. It is not too late. It is early and about to grow. Now is the time to do what you know you must and have feared to begin. Your face is dark too as you turn inward to face yourself, the hidden twin of all you must grow to be. Forgive the dead year. Forgive yourself. What will be wants to push through your fingers. The light you seek hides in your belly. The light you crave longs to stream from your eyes. You are the new moon that will wax in the new goodness.
בשנה הבאה נשב המרפסת ונספור ציפורים נודדות. ילדים בחופשה ישחקו תופסת בין הבית לבין השדות. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. עוד תראה כמה טוב יהיה בשנה הבאה. Soon the day will arrive when we will be together and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without them wondering whether on that day dark new clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world it will be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world it will be if we share, if we care, you and me.
What a wonderful group we have. Yay! In the twilight of the vanishing year, our hearts are filled with a sense of gratitude. We are stirred by the memory of joy as the new year begins. We are sustained by love and kindness, comforted in times of sorrow, found happiness in our homes and gladness with our friends. As the new year begins, we join in happy song. But there were dreams that came to naught and times when we refused to dream. These too we now remember as the new year begins. As the new year begins, contrition fills our thoughts. Some of our days were dark with grief. Many a tear furrowed our cheeks. Alas, for the tender ties that were broken. We look back with sorrow as the new year begins. As the new year begins, tears well up within us. Yet we look ahead with hope, grateful for this time of renewal, for the possibility of good to come. Let this Rosh Hashanah, celebration of life, be our day of renewal into life and peace, serenity and safety as the new year begins. As the new year begins, so is hope reborn in us.
inclusive of all and rejecting of none, where love touches all lives like the warmth of the sun. No abuse and no hatred, no prison of fear, as the sound of the Shofar celebrates the new year. If we open our hearts to the love waiting there, we can have the power to heal our despair. If we open our eyes and see our people are free, destruction will end and a new world If we open our hearts, if we open our eyes, if we open our minds, a world without sorrow, a world without pain, a world where compassion falls freely as rain, a world where our people are united as one. If we open our hearts, if we open our minds, if we open
Peace. We seek peace, the most precious gift we can bestow upon ourselves. May we find the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. May our country strive to be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. May we strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may the love of humanity permeate every home and every heart. May we labor for righteousness, and in so doing, author a new book of life, blessing, and peace, for we alone are the source of peace.
Na'aseh shalom ba'olam, na'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam
This reading is not found in your book. It is a special reading for this year. Because as we gather on this year, on this holiday, we are, of course, carrying the weight of a horrible year that has passed, a year filled with tragedy. The massacre of October 7th has left deep scars on our hearts that will never be erased. Our thoughts reach out to families of those lost, whose grief is immeasurable, and to the hostages still held, along with their loved ones, who suffer in an unbearable limbo. We stand with our people in this time of pain and uncertainty, yet we also hold compassion for the innocent among the Palestinians and Lebanese caught in the crossfire of a conflict not of their making. We extend our sympathy to all who are suffering without ever losing sight of the terrible wrongs that have been done. Yet even now, amid our grief and fear, we hold fast to hope. Hope for the return of those taken. Hope for an end to violence. Hope for a peace that is real and lasting, where all can live with dignity and security. May we draw strength from each other and remain committed to healing a world broken by hatred. Together, may we work toward a future where justice and compassion prevail. In this community, we find strength in common purpose, and therefore we turn now our minds and hearts toward all those others who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who suffer pain of the body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. May all who suffer know that they are not alone, that we are here. May they be healed quickly. May they experience a complete recovery, refuah shlema, the renewal of their bodies and the renewal of their spirits.
The light of life is a finite flame. Like the holiday candles, life burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair. With our lives we give life and love. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life.
Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every people and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Tonight we depart just a bit from our tradition because we've missed several Shabbats recently. We've also not had the opportunity to honor and remember all those whose yahrzeit occurred during this period and will throughout these holidays. So tonight, we remember with respect and sorrow these members of our community and their loved ones: Herman Alumit, Molly Avery, Abba Balgli, Dale Boski, Harry Borovitz, Gertrude M. Bosteicher, Ed Shalom, Armand Creed, Ruth Davis, Mary Feldman, Edith S. Fox, Lillian Gilman, Edwin B. Grauer, Louis Haas, George Harris, Maurice Jacobs, Violet Jacobs, George Jarris, Ida Kingston, Lily Paul Klein, Henry Crystal, Barbara Luria, Karen Moss, Dorothy Nolish, Harry Oberstein, Gerald Primack, Sam Remnick, Stuart Rice, Alan Edward Schechter, Ann Seifer, Lillian Warren, and Kurt Weinberg. May their memories bless us. If you can do so comfortably, please rise as together we recite our humanistic interpretation of Kaddish. Together, Nit gadal v'nit kadash beruach ha'adam. Let us dignify and ennoble all people in the spirit of our shared humanity. Let us acclaim the preciousness of life. Let us show gratitude for life by approaching it with reverence. Let us embrace the whole world even as we wrestle with its parts. Let us each, in our own way, take up our share in serving the world and seeking truth. May our commitment to life help us to strengthen healing of spirit and peace of mind. May peace and justice permeate and comfort the house of Israel and all those who dwell on earth. And let us say, Ken Yehi May it be so. Please be seated. So we're going to hear an old favorite tonight. It's a song you'll recognize called Am Yisrael Chai. We've added a verse, so the traditional is Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel lives. Od Avinu Chai, our ancestors metaphorically still live with us. And tonight we're also going to sing Od Amenu Chai, our people lives. Joseph.
Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Od Amenu Chai, Od Amenu Chai. Od Amenu, Od Amenu, Od Amenu Chai. Od Amenu Chai, Od Amenu Chai. Od Amenu, Od Amenu, Od Amenu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, 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 Am Yisrael Chai.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking in a moment about Am Yisrael. So once again, Shana Tova. We're going to celebrate, even though it's been a terrible year, because we have hope in our hearts, and we're together in this magnificent congregation. I've always especially loved Erev Rosh Hashanah. You know, it's always our smallest service. Most people stay home throughout the Jewish world. That's true. And they have dinner, and that's lovely. They should. But the few of us who get together every year on Erev Rosh Hashanah, because I always have to be here, the idea that I get to be here with a special group of self-selected people, not that I don't love seeing us all, but an intimate group sometimes makes for a closer group. So thank you all for being here tonight. I want to share a little bit of an anecdote. To go back, way back in my memory to 1989. I was a 27-year-old rabbi. It was my first professional position, director of the Hillel Jewish Student Center at the University of Illinois, and I was about to teach my very first class, Introduction to Judaism. After 5 years of rabbinical school and a lifetime of living and learning Judaism, such a long lifetime, I felt ready. I had everything planned, and I decided that rather than starting with a lecture, I'd open with a question to spark some discussion, to get the students thinking from the very beginning. So as I stood in front of the board, I said, "What is Judaism?" The answers started slowly, and I wrote them on that board one by one as they emerged. It's a religion that demands belief in one God. Okay. A set of customs, an ethnicity, a nationality, a way of life. It's a culture. It's a legal system. It's rituals. Good answers, I told them. All. None of them are actually completely correct, at least not for everyone. So I offered my follow-up question. Who is a Jew? They took turns again offering answers. Someone born to a Jewish mother, someone who converts to Judaism, a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, they didn't exist, but okay, yes. A member of the chosen people who chose us. And on it went. Soon my blackboard was filled with their suggestions. Looking at that wide array of answers, I realized something that was now going to become a recurring theme throughout my entire career. There is neither a simple or universally accepted answer to questions like what is Judaism or who is a Jew. While to some, the answer seems straightforward, but in reality, they lie at the heart of the complexity of the Jewish experience, revealing a truth that for many can feel challenging and even uncomfortable. The Jewish identity is not fixed, it's not uniform, it's not something that can be neatly defined, demarcated, or boxed in. It is complicated, multifaceted, and ever evolving. Today, more than ever, at a time of escalating internal divisions and external threats, we must wrestle with these questions as a people together. Like every rabbi, I went on to teach many such courses over many years, but the title I selected for the most recent iterations of this class reflected these truths, which is why I started calling these classes Introduction to Judaisms, with an S, not a typo. From that moment, way back when, until this day, I have encouraged every group I've encountered, be they religious or secular or anything in between, to understand that one of the most fascinating and truly wonderful, and I'll admit simultaneously perplexing and difficult things about the Jewish people is how we are defined in so many different, even mutually contradictory ways. In America, for example, most people call Judaism a religion. Really? I think that we humanistic Jews know that at the very least, and despite our many religious elements in our services and so forth, Judaism is much, much more than that. What about these other proposals that people entertain? What of ethnicity, culture, or an even older word, nationality? Well, each reflects some truth, just as each is riddled with complexity. Ethnicity, for example, can mean a shared biological heritage, but it can also be applied to those with a shared language or culture or an assumed national heritage. None of these neatly apply to all Jews. We share some things, others overlap in a series of Venn diagrams. Still others are only applicable to some Jews in some places and at some times. For Ashkenazi Jews, whose parents, perhaps parents', and maybe their parents' hail from Eastern Europe, being Jewish includes a history and culture tied to Yiddish-speaking communities. It might also include cultural memories of shtetls, possibly a tragic connection to the Holocaust. How different are these from the experiences of Sephardic Jews, who trace their roots to Spain, or the Mizrahi Eastern Jews, who share much of Sephardic culture, but who lived for centuries in the Arab world? What of Ethiopian Jews who bring with them traditions shaped by completely different contexts? There's a thriving Jewish community in Uganda, the Abba Yudaya, the people of Judah. They boast DNA markers that match the ancient priests of Israel. China once hosted a Jewish community in Kaifeng that may have taken root as early as the 7th century. I've seen their Haggadahs. In Israel today live a group called the Bnei Israel, who once lived in Cochin, India. They are among many Indian groups and preserve many cultural elements of their millennia-long sojourn there. And I have only scratched the surface. Jewish identity is as fluid and wide-ranging as the communities that claim it. While we share many things across time and space, many other cultural markers are quite different. So if Judaism cannot be simply defined by religion, ethnicity, or nationality, well, what are we left with? How do we define Jewishness in an age of diversity and complexity. What has held the Jews together for millennia? The question can be answered, I believe, by one book, among the many, I should add, that all Jews have preserved and revered, the Torah. Every Jewish community has the Torah. It is there that we find a phrase that embraces us all, Am Yisrael, the song we just heard, the people of Israel, frequently translated, perhaps appropriately, today as the Jewish people. This idea of peoplehood is not new. It is deeply embedded in Jewish texts, history, and identity. The Torah speaks of the Israelites not simply, or really not at all, as followers of a religion. In any case, whatever religion or religions that they practiced are not very similar to any form of Judaism today. No, the Torah speaks about Israelites as a people, an am, a community bound together by shared heritage, experiences, and responsibilities. Throughout the ages, the term Am Yisrael has transcended Western concepts of religion or newer ideas of nationality, describing a people who, despite being scattered across the globe, somehow remain connected. Of course, peoplehood itself is not without its contradictions. Throughout history, Jews have found reasons always both to unite and to divide. And the notion that we are one inseparable people has, alongside all the other definitions of Judaism and Jewishness, been challenged time and time again by the reality of our diversity. Still, this decidedly ancient term has nevertheless survived as a framework for understanding something of what unites us, even when our beliefs and practices so radically diverge. American Jewry, despite the fact that most American Jews at some point descend from Ashkenazi Jewries, not all, but most, has frequently found ourselves divided. This became especially strong when we were denominationalized by the American custom of breaking religious groups down into sects. And yet there have been moments in not too distant memory when we, in spite of all that, experienced a palpable sense of unity, of peoplehood. The movement to free Soviet Jewry is perhaps one of the most striking examples of this. For those of you who remember, I assume most of you do, in the 1970s and 80s, American Jews rallied around the cause of Jews living behind the Iron Curtain. Our efforts transcended denominational lines, political affiliations, geographic boundaries. We sent care packages, we signed petitions, we even twinned celebrations of B'nai Mitzvahs. I know that was done here, with young Soviet Jews who could not celebrate theirs. In December 1987, 250,000 American Jews gathered in the National Mall, on the National Mall in Washington to demand their freedom. Until recently, it was the single largest gathering of Jews in American history, the most recent gathering in October now having surpassed it. It was a moment when the concept of peoplehood became real as Am Yisrael, united in common purpose. But like so many moments of Jewish unity, the cause of Soviet Jewry was fleeting. Once the Soviet Jews were freed, the shared purpose that had united us dissipated. With it, the illusion of a singular, cohesive Jewish people in America, at least, faded once again. We reverted to that messy but very familiar, somewhat comfortable, when we try hard enough, somewhat navigable diversity. Of course, the Jewish community in our day can be not so easy to navigate. Consider how much divides us. To start with the thorniest issue, today perhaps one of the most complex and sensitive ones that challenges our sense of peoplehood is our relationships with the state of Israel. For many Jews, Israel represents the culmination of millennia of longing for a homeland. It is a place where Jewish life thrives in many forms. Rabbi Wein noted that it contains the largest and most successful array of secular Jews ever gathered in the world. It still is, by the way. I'm going to be speaking about secularism on Yom Kippur Day. In Israel, our Hebrew language was revived, and much of our shared Jewish history and cultural expressions are deeply embedded in the fabric there of everyday life. At the same time, for other Jews, Israel presents difficult questions about nationalism, about human rights, about the ethical responsibilities of a state. These sometimes differ, these perspectives, and many times they overlap. The same individuals, the same groups, celebrating and struggling with the state of Israel all at once. Some focus on the importance of a homeland. Sometimes we focus on universal principles of justice and equality. Sometimes we are left juggling, as many Israelis are, both. Similarly, there are long-standing questions that the existence of a Jewish state has always brought to the forefront. Questions that have historically elicited diverse opinions in our community, but in a state have had real consequences. Questions about Jewish leadership. Which rabbis or Jewish leaders should be recognized as the legitimate bearers of Jewish traditions? We fight about it. Questions about lineage and identity. Should inherited Jewish identity be determined only by matrilineal descent, the mom? Or should we add patrilineal descent, as many American Jews do, and increasingly those in Israel? Or is it measured in some other way, by some other means? What about conversion and other kinds of inclusion? Who may join the Jewish people from outside and under what conditions? And what about those claims of shared Jewish values? Can all Jews be said to share the same values? Certainly not, at least not entirely. Our Jewish world encompasses a wide spectrum of beliefs and practices. The Orthodox Jews, and you know I have some that are beloved to me beyond the most priceless jewels, well, they have different interpretations of religious law, of the roles of men and women when compared to secular or liberally religious Jews. Among all Jews, there are disagreements on what we should prioritize. Should we be more universal, outward-facing in our activism, or do we really concern ourselves more with the needs and preservation of the Jewish people, or some combination, some magical formula that we've yet to achieve? These differences reflect what, in a generous moment, we might call the rich tapestry of Jewish life. But even when we're feeling a little less generous about our differences, our Jewish connections to each other recommend approaching difference with empathy and a willingness to at least try to understand each other. This is the best way to navigate these complexities together without completely alienating one another. And it leads naturally to a question that I've been asking myself my entire career. Is there any value that can unite us? Well, I think there is, but first I want to share what Rabbi Wein said about what constituted a Jew, because it informs the answer that I've decided to offer you tonight. He said, Judaism, the Jewish people, and he combines them because they're kind of one and also different, is more than a religion or religious denomination. What we share is a common history, a common fate, and a common culture. This was a conviction that was expanded upon and codified in several statements issued by our movement over the years. Among the most important of these was one that was issued, and I know some of you even might have been there, in 1988 at the Second Biennial Conference of the International Federation of Secular Humanistic Jews in Brussels. Lynn, you were there, I think, right? As Rabbi Miriam Jairus, who was an organizer of the conference, reminded me, the statement itself came from a group that was diverse all on its own. And this was just humanistic Jews from North America and Europe. But they did settle on a statement, and this is what they said. The Jewish people is a world people. Rabbi Wein liked to use that expression, a world people, with a pluralistic culture and a civilization all its own. Judaism as the culture of the Jews is more than theological commitment, quite obviously. It encompasses many languages, a vast body of literature, historical memories, ethical values, and they continued. This is why Jews have a moral responsibility to welcome all people who seek to identify with our culture and identity. The authority to define who is a Jew, they said, always a hot question, belongs to all the Jewish people. It cannot be usurped by any part of it. And so they declared, in the name of the historic experience of the Jewish people, we affirm that a Jew is a person of Jewish descent, or any person who declares himself or herself to be a Jew, who identifies with the history, the ethical values, culture, civilization, community, and fate of the Jewish people. The inclusion of fate here, as it was in Rabbi Wine's quote, was not incidental. Two prominent Israeli scholars who attended, Professor Yehuda Bauer of blessed memory, the great scholar of the Holocaust, a survivor himself, and Professor Yaakov Malkin of blessed memory, both of them among Rabbi Wine's visionary partners, in their case especially in the state of Israel, in founding our movement. They insisted upon including the word fate. It was subsequently placed in the statement, and Rabbi Wine echoed it many times. Why? Because it is a stark reminder to us of the shared experience that all Jews have had at some point of anti-Semitism, and the fate that befell our people almost continuously of oppression, expulsion, and genocide, and of the fate that we as Jews, through hope and work, can create for ourselves going forward. I'm going to talk about much more related to anti-Semitism and these kinds of topics on Yom Kippur. In stating this, our movement's position on inclusivity, our founders did not intend it to be an internal policy alone. They were recommending this, despite the fact that it is only met with resistance, although decreasing opposition and resistance to the entire Jewish world. With these lessons from Rabbi Wine and statements from our movement, humanistic Judaism offered now what I have identified, whether the other Jews accept it or not, as the one value that really can and must truly unify us. And though our movement stated it in radically modern terms, it is ever so far from new. It has been part of the Jewish conversation for well over 2,500 years. It is the argument for inclusion. We take people in. We welcome people. We are a tiny people, no more than 15 plus million in a world of billions. Inclusivity. And you know something? It's not new. The earliest and most significant debate about inclusivity can be found in the Bible, in two books. One, a true story about a man named Ezra the scribe, and the other, a legend passed down to us in a book called the Book of Ruth. Each of these books presents a starkly different vision of who they thought 2,500 plus years ago could be part of the Jewish people. Start with Ezra the scribe. He was, according to most scholars, a real person. He was a product of the Babylonian exile, which began in his parents' and grandparents' time, roughly 586 BCE. You can do the math. When many, but by no means all Jews in Judea had been taken into exile by Babylonian conquerors who also destroyed the first temple. As it turned out, the Babylonians were not long for this world. They succumbed to conquest by their neighbors to the east in Persia. And the Persians' great leader, Cyrus, issued an edict in 538 BCE permitting the return to Israel, to Judea, of any Jews who wished to go back. Now, most did not. And their descendants, by the way, became the Iraqi Jewish community that thrived until their own banishment in the early 1950s. That's how long they were there. But some did go back to Judea. They were led by a small contingent that included this Ezra the scribe. Upon his arrival, Ezra was horrified to find that many among the Jews and their descendants who had remained in Israel had intermarried with non-Jews. To him, this was a threat to the future of the Jewish people. His very non-compassionate solution: he demanded the expulsion of all foreign wives and their children. Ezra's approach was one of exclusion, of creating rigid boundaries around Jewish identity. But his exclusionary policies did meet with significant opposition. One of those resistors to this policy wrote that book, that work of fiction, about a woman named Ruth. This book of Ruth, part of our Bible to this day, tells the story of a Moabite woman — Moab was a neighboring land to Israel — who became part of the Jewish people by choice. As the story goes, a woman named Naomi had moved to this land with her husband and sons, as many people did back in those days, to escape a famine. In Moab, her sons married the local women. One of those local women was our heroine, Ruth. Sadly, though, Naomi's sons and her husband died. Now bereft of them, she decided to return to her family, to go back to Israel, to Judea. Ruth alone, though, Ruth, one of her daughters-in-law, made the decision to go with her. She famously embraced the Jewish people and its traditions as she declared to her mother-in-law, "Where you go, I shall go. Your people shall be my people." It is a powerful and emotional scene, and the story comes with a surprise ending. After remarrying herself, Ruth had a son and then a grandson. His name, David, soon to be the king of the Jews. Now, with this phenomenal story, the author of what is admittedly a work of fiction was announcing to Ezra, the scribe, and all others who would narrowly define what the Jewish people could be, and tell them that inclusivity must be considered our reigning ethos. It is a precious reminder that this idea, this unifying by its very nature Jewish value, offered again in modern times by humanistic Judaism, is as old or older than many other revered traditions. It says something about our movement. Inclusivity provides us with a value that can help save our exceedingly tiny people, helping us navigate the complexity of all these different and self-contradictory Jewish identities that persist to this day. Inclusivity doesn't mean welcoming those who fit one mold. It means embracing the full spectrum of Jewish identity. It means understanding and accepting that there is never going to be a single way to be Jewish, no single set of beliefs or practices that will ever define us. It means acknowledging that Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, the Jewish people, has always been a diverse and multifaceted people. And at a time when we are facing internal divisions that often seem irreconcilable, inclusivity can be a powerfully unifying value. It emphasizes the importance of family connection and shared history. It accepts the reality that we are both different in many ways, but also the same. And importantly, when we seek to include all Jews and the entirety of the Jewish experience, we discover that inclusivity in the face of our differences is no weakness. It is, in fact, the very source of our strength. It is what empowers our tiny people, just 0.2% of the world's population, to remain bonded to each other through an enduring sense of community, one that is deeply felt no matter how we each describe or express our Jewishness. This inclusive concept of Jewish people transcends politics, religious practices and beliefs, cultural variations, and any other of our very different takes on how to be Jewish. to celebrate the inclusiveness of Jewish peoplehood is to rejoice in the shared experience of belonging to a people that has endured and, yes, thrived in the face of all odds for over 3 millennia, ever adapting and evolving, even as our people have been connected to those roots. So as we move now forward into a new year, let us, those who have revived this idea and done so splendidly and successfully, commit ourselves to continuing this work of inclusivity throughout the Jewish world, not just in our movement. Let us welcome and encourage others to welcome those who seek to join us. Let us celebrate the diversity within our communities, us too. That's a mandate for us as well. Let us engage in open, respectful dialogue about our differences and the challenges we face. In doing so, we will honor this legacy, this honor of being part of Am Yisrael by choice or by birth or by association. This peoplehood, ensuring that Jewish life continues to thrive for generations to come. There is no year that I have meant this with more sincerity than this one. May we look forward to a Shana Tova Umetuka, a truly sweet and much more wonderful year. Thank you. All righty. Where's our singers and songstresses? And so, here they are, marching in. As they come in, there's actually a little reading to allow them to get their seats. And it's a hope that we should, I think, all read together on page 18. We begin this new year with hope in our hearts for a good and sweet year, a year of joy and happiness, a year of love and understanding, a year of peace and friendship, a year of prosperity, a year of health, a year in which the hope in our hearts is made real by the deeds of our hands. L'Shana Tova, Happy New Year. What's our closing song? Peace be with you. Peace be with you.
Peace be with you wherever you go. Peace be with you whatever you do. Peace be with you till we meet again. Peace be with you, my friend. Love be with you wherever you go. Love be with you whatever you do. Love be with you till we meet again. Love be with you, my friend. Joy be with you wherever you go. Joy be with you whatever you do. Joy be with you till we meet again. Joy be with you, my friend. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom, Shalom. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom.
Shana Tova, everybody. Thank you, Joseph. Thank all of you. Please return kindly your books to our beautiful baskets in the back.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu. Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai,